Hello there and welcome to this video which looks at 2.1.6 computer communications and networking of the OCR specification, and in particular we're going to be looking at IP and MAC addressing, packets and protocols. So OCR say that you need to be able to explain the terms IP addressing, MAC addressing, packet and protocols. So IP first of all stands for Internet Protocol. Every single device which connects to the internet has an IP address, and it's used to identify different machines and areas. So different areas of countries have different IP addresses, but what can happen with these IP addresses, they can be spoofed. And what that means is that it appears that someone, for example, in the United Kingdom, their IP address could make them appear as if they're connecting from Brazil, which is quite a big flaw. But there we go. IP addressing, there's two different versions of it. There's version 4, which uses 4 lots of numbers. So for example, 127.0.01. And then there's also now IP version 6. That's not included with the OCR specification, but it's a nice little tidbit to know as well. MAC addressing, MAC stands for Media Access Control, and it is used to identify a unique network adapter. The MAC address itself is stored on the adapter. Sometimes in the past it's been physically written onto the adapter, and with a MAC address it cannot be duplicated or replicated. Once you are assigned the MAC address, that MAC address is with that device. So for example, with the network card, the Bluetooth dongle that you use with your PC or games console, that has a MAC address and it is a fixed number. So if you're thinking about in terms of security, MAC addressing is very, very useful because you can identify, you can pinpoint an actual device, whereas with an IP address, it can be spoofed. If we look at packets, packets are essentially pieces of data which is split into small packets. If you were going to take over a large file and transmit it across a network, it's going to go slowly. There's going to be bottlenecks. It's going to go, the speed it takes to get from A to B is going to be slow. If we split it up into smaller pieces of data, smaller packets, and transmitted it across a network, it can take multiple routes to get from A to B, and then it can get across the network much more quickly. Each packet contains the destination information and error codes to ensure they're assembled correctly in the right place and correctly when they are received. Splitting the data allows you to send a large file across the network much more quickly and more efficiently. Here we have a couple of images which I've just ripped from the internet. So for example, in the top left image, we are sending the message, how are you? Divide them into packets, make sure they're numbered so we know how to assemble them, and the packets are reassembled on the other side. If we took away the numbering and just put how are you through there, when it gets to the other side, it might come back as how are you. Doesn't make any sense. So we really need to make sure we know what gets sent through and the order it needs to be built back in. With an email, can have the sender's IP address, receiver's IP address, the protocol being used, the data being used, error correction, and you can just see from that image there sort of file sizes which could be then put into play. Remember, bits, very, very small pieces of data. Finally, we're going to be looking at some protocols. These are the ones which OCR will probably want you to know. So some of them are quite self-explanatory. So for example, FTP, File Transfer Protocol, is used for file transfers over the internet. So for example, uploading an image to Facebook. HTTP you will have seen on many sites, including on YouTube, as you can see at the top on the URL. It stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and what that is doing is that is allowing you to transfer hypertext documents, so for example HTML documents, and be able to load and access them in a web browser. SMTP and POP3 are used for sending and receiving of emails. VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol, is becoming more and more dominant and more used as time goes by. For example, using it via FaceTime, Skype video conferences, it's becoming more and more used. And then we've got TCP/IP, which is Transmission Communication Protocol, Internet Protocol, and what TCP/IP allows you to do is actually use the internet, so it's able to store and send different pieces of data over different layers of it. TCP/IP is absolutely massive, and there are so many different areas that you can look into with it. Remember, just if you go put it into the Google and have a look at things and get overawed, remember this is just the GCSE. There's many different websites out there which are aimed at more towards A-level and university courses, so don't get bogged down with it. Just make sure you know what TCP/IP is for, what it's used for, and some of the different layers which are used. I hope this video has been useful for you. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye bye.